Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you gotta get caught. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning, everybody. It is Tuesday. I did not have a good night's rest, so I have to apologize if I seem really off today. Okay, so I'll tell you my story after. Anyways, so let's just go to the charts and see what happened yesterday. So yesterday, the E-mini was like really constrained and somewhat down on the open. And then there was news that Facebook had their lawsuit from the FTC or whoever it is dismissed. And that really bolstered the stock and pulled the rest of the markets up. So we did end up closing the day at the highs. Pretty good rally in the end. A little bit down, but, I don't know. We're really coming into just a lot less volatility in the E-mini, right? Then in treasuries had a really strong bid yesterday and completely wiped out the selling that there was on Friday. But they are a little bearish today. Just note, there's today and tomorrow are the end of the month, and that is an important time for treasuries. There tends to be a bid on those days, but not always. And when it's not, you can get some really interesting moves. So then we got oil here. Oil is under pressure as OPEC is expected to increase supplies substantially over the next meeting. So but you can see a little bit of a relief rally going on right now. I wonder if there was more news since I woke up, because that move is since I woke up and started getting ready. Gold and silver a little bit pressured as there's some dollar strength out there. Copper is still kind of struggling, but hey, I don't know. That kind of looks like they're trying to make something happen. So I don't know. We'll see on that one. So, but here you can see the dollar looking pretty strong this morning, so we'll see where that goes. If they were to turn back down below 92, then that would probably be beneficial for the day trading bits. Let's see here. We should turn these on. We had some modifications yesterday, so was just changing how it did sizing. So I didn't do very well yesterday, though. Oh my gosh. You know what? I showed you that whole thing and it showed you the wrong monitor. Should be displayed too. You want me to go through that again? Oh my gosh. ES, down, up, ZN, up, down, blah, CL, gold, silver pressured, copper. The dollar. That is a pretty steady rise there in the dollar. I have to say that's a little bit concerning momentum. Anyways, coming back to here, Keller first commenter. Good for you. Also a note, I did a bunch of channel restructuring yesterday. So I just come in here and show you. I went and I made all of the live streams unlisted and put them in a huge playlist. This playlist has like 1.2 thousand videos in it. Okay. So the nice thing about that is that when you come into videos here now, you only get the one-off videos, which is quite nice. And I did that because yesterday somebody came in. I don't think it was organic. I'm almost certain that it wasn't organic. I don't know. Somebody decided that they really liked me that day and decided to send their bots my way. And so that video got like 2,000 likes or something like that out of nowhere. And yeah, it really boosted that video. But then like I realized like what YouTube was recommending to people. And I was like, oh, well, I don't necessarily want it to recommend the live streams. I mean, I get a few views off of that, but I don't know. We'll see how it changes. I guess this is an experiment. We can always go back and change it. And I should, let's come in here. I wonder, does it show me? Because I also had a video about maintaining your algorithmic trading strategies. And this one did really, really well. Let me pull this over. Let's see if it'll let us see it. That is way above our typical performance. 1,000 views in the first day. Like normally we're like 100, 200. Like even my best video, the hardware video, did not perform that well. So although it does look like there was some time in the overnight, it kind of slowed down, but that might just be the time of day, huh? And when you come in and I'll look at it, they're coming from suggested videos. Although, actually it does tell me which, well, that's interesting, which ones they're coming from. Well, that just kind of suggests that it's recommending it all over the place. It may just be because I have a really good thumbnail, but what I was really interested in was how many were subscribed, not subscribed. Okay. Very interesting. Well, hopefully we get some good videos. I still want to do the day trading Nirvana video, but I don't know if that's quite a bit more work. I don't know if I have enough time this weekend to do that one. So, okay, yes, it took 3. And did it? Well, so I wonder. I mean, it's supposed to take 3, but I expected it to say 3 at 42.80.25, not to do it 3 times. That's kind of annoying. But I'm pretty sure I'm gonna pull up the code here. Size 3. Well, we'll see what happens. I would like to change that though. I don't know how you fix that, but I would like to get rid of that. But at least it's not what it was doing before, is it was only taking 1 at a time, and it would do it a bunch of times, and that did not work very well. So we fix that. So anyways, yeah, like I woke up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, and like the baby decided that he was just going to be awake at 4 o'clock in the morning. So yeah, I didn't sleep well, and I didn't really get to sleep on time anyways. So I'm feeling a little tired. We do have some news today, right? We got Fed's barking, house price index, Case-Shiller numbers, CB consumer confidence at 8. Okay. Hey, good morning, Uzi. Anyways, but the whole point of that whole thing on the channel was, if you notice anything with the channel, make sure you tell me. Okay, because you know, I might have screwed something up, but all of the past live streams should be unlisted in that one playlist. And hopefully YouTube should start recommending you guys like my one-off videos. And I'm hoping that will lead to better channel growth. Better, how do we say, better conversion of people into subscribers, right? Last couple of days of the month. By the way, Vlad, I haven't read as much from you, and I'm happy to see you today. Last couple of days of the month, and Kathy Wood is window dressing the coin stock. Do you think that's what's going on? Could be. If you keep liking something, YouTube will recommend similar videos. Easy math. Yeah, well, like when I come in, I'm not gonna go and look at my every live stream video. Like the thing is that YouTube, supposedly YouTube looks at every video in isolation. You know what I mean? So this one video doing really well shouldn't affect this other video not doing so well, or vice versa. But I think that it's like, if YouTube is going to recommend one of my videos, I would rather it be one of my one-off ones. And I'm wondering, like, okay, so if I don't have all of those live streams and it only has the one-off ones that it can recommend, does that mean that it will recommend less videos? So we should be able to go in and look at our stats after this and see if the impressions, you know, how many times the video was actually recommended to people, changes, to see if it was a good idea or not, right? So we should be able to get really good stats about whether or not it worked, especially since we'd been doing it the other way for so long. But I really liked the way, when I did it, it took a while to fix it all up and get it correct. But once I got it all set up, I really liked the way that it cleaned up my homepage. So we'll try it. I don't think that that's something that would hold the channel back or anything like that. But I just went the way that things went on the live stream yesterday. It seemed like should make a difference, because what's going to happen, or what I think is happening, is like I post a video. With the interaction and stuff, I have 6,000 subscribers, but like only 70 or so of you look at the video that day, right? So we want to get that number higher. And I think that it's because they see the live streams, they already know the live streams are not interested in that, so they don't click on that. And so then YouTube isn't recommending the other video. You know what I mean? So I'm hoping that the videos just take off faster with doing this, that it will recommend new videos to more of you. So that's what I'm thinking. Like the 4th of July is on Sunday, but you know, I have another video that I could do. I don't know if to do the Day Trade Nirvana video, I think that I needed a bit of setup, because I think I've got like multiple scenes, and I've got to do the chalkboard and draw stuff. It's just going to take a long time. How's the algo code coming up? Well, let's look at it, shall we? Let's look at the performance. Trade performance. And if we go back to, I believe, the beginning of June, and only show sim HFT. Oh, it was so much better. Let me see where. Well, that's not right at all. Send Ace code which executes trades. Oh. I swear this was so much different last time I looked at it. Yeah, it was starting from here, 6-1. Oh, maybe it's because when I filtered it, I didn't click generate again. Oh, okay. I think that's what's happening. Yeah, and then the first was like another, I made a change that day, and then that one. Okay, so that's what it was. Okay, so here was how it performed over the month. Okay, so it did pretty good. It had this one day that was like a really down day, and then it had 2 days that were like really good days. And then yesterday, I put it on 3 contracts, and it lost on that one, so it came down. So in theory, it should be okay on a combine, at least based off of how it performed last month. But it's super, super iffy, and the data that you got there, that's such little data that it could just be random. Now, I've also wondered, should I just put it on the E-mini? I don't know. But for now, we're going to trade 3 micro contracts is what I'm going to lever it on. So, and then, yeah, I did have to screw around a couple of times because I tried doing it by just changing the number of entries that it was allowed to take, and that didn't work very well. So I changed it around so that there's a variable in there that defines how many contracts you're going to use. And yeah, worked from there, and it appears to be working because it took a trade on 3 contracts, and we'll see which way it goes. It's more of a scalp algo. It's only looking for I think it's only looking for 8 ticks, so it only goes, yeah. And not only that, but in this summer, so like when I was backtesting it, it'd take like 3 or 4 trades a day. But in this summer action, it's only been taking like 1. Like it'll take 1 early on in the session that always seems to work out for some reason. And then like nothing happens. You just never get, because it relies on a certain amount of imbalance occurring, and it just doesn't happen. What's the logic? That's about as far as I'm willing to explain on stream. It uses order flow, and it uses level 2. And there's not any kind of complicated decision branching or anything like that. I would like to, at some point in the future, try and incorporate some machine learning into this, because there seems to me to be some sort of model Markov thing going on. Like, is that a good enough explanation? It's like under certain situations, the S&P 500 will go towards the liquidity, and in certain situations, it will go away from the liquidity. And it's like when it's doing one or the other, it is really effective. So it's like it'll go into this mode where like it'll just win, and then it'll go into this mode where it's like lose. So like I don't know what the underlying dynamic is, and it's certainly not something that I've been able to just figure out myself from looking at it. But there's got to be something there, because it's just too all one or the other, How did you get it to read the tape? So I'm using the speculator Seth indicators. Yeah. The level 2 indicators, that's how it's reading the tape. And then I just have certain filters on it. Yeah. Somebody was sending me a private message that Kaggle was doing a trading competition of sorts. It wasn't really a trading competition though. It was it was just predicting volatility over the next 10-minute period. Let's see if I can read more about it. But like the top prize was $100,000. So like, there it is right there. Optiver. Code requirements. It has to take less than 9 hours. Submission file must be named submission.csv. Oh, so you don't even put out your code. You just put in like the nah, that can't be the way that they would do it. Then do they have data? Sample submission. Test train, trade test, trade train. Well, and then you can pull in any kind of data that you want. But predicting volatility hasn't really been my thing, and I'm not even sure what I would do. What would I do to try and win that one? I don't know. I think it's probably a little bit too far out of my area of expertise to really stand a good, but it would probably be a really good experience either way, right? So maybe we'll try anyways. And when is it due? Along September. Okay. Well, the treasury is, as I've been yapping. Here's the thing. I don't know. I didn't fill in very good. So my trading might really suck. But if the treasury is going to be acting like that, it might be worth taking a trade. I'm noticing though, like there is some two-way action going on here. So this is very interesting. Uptick. There appears to be concern from some OPEC Plus states that there will be oversupply once the summer season ends. Oh. Hence, perhaps why oil is going up and the dollar is strengthening? Now, you do get some of these house price index numbers at the top of the hour. I got some weird taste in my mouth. Is that just the water? It might be time to replace the water filter. It's starting to get a little metallic tasting. Oh man, I just remembered the thing we have to talk about today. Oh man, it makes me so mad. there been anything new on it? Okay, here's the story. I think that this is a story that is like too good to check, which is to say that the claim being made seems so extravagant that I have a hard time believing it. But the headline is NSA whistleblower reveals to Tucker Carlson that the Biden administration is spying on his communications. Tucker Carlson says an NSA whistleblower has stepped forward and provided evidence that the National Security Agency has been spying on him. Yesterday, we heard from a whistleblower within the U.S. government who reached out to warn us that the NSA has been monitoring our electronic communications and is planning to leak them in an attempt to take this show off the air. The whistleblower, who was in a position to know, repeated back to us information about a story that we are working on that could have only come directly from my texts and emails. There's no other possible source for that information, period. The NSA captured that information without our knowledge and did it for political reasons. The Biden administration is spying on us. We have confirmed that. This morning we filed the Freedom of Information Act request asking for all information that the NSA and other agencies have gathered about this show. Can you believe that? Can that actually be real? Like, could they be like exaggerating or like it not being as serious as they think? Or that it was like routine data collection and somebody at the NSA was just going to abuse their power? So I mean, this is like communist China kind of stuff, not the US. I just can't believe it. Like, the government is actively spying on journalists to try and undermine them. Of course, you kind of wonder, like, what would they be leaking? What kind of a story would you be doing the leaking that could get your show taken off the air? I don't. That's another side that I have a hard time. Maybe something to do with the Capitol riots. I don't know. Oh my gosh, that story. That one makes me. That has me so triggered. After everything over the last year, anything is possible if you ask me, says Uzi. HF says that's what Edward Snowden says. Yeah, I think so. I think that all of that information gets collected by the NSA routinely. And the understanding is that you have to have like a warrant or something like that in order to access it. And if you don't like a political opponent, you could just look at it anyways. And Edward Snowden was saying that happened all the time. Is my recollection. Yeah. Okay, here's the numbers. 18.2% for the HPI. Tucker Carlson said that? I don't trust the editorialism of Tucker Carlson. But he says that a whistleblower came forward and provided information to them, and there's no way that they would have that information unless they were snooping on his texts, basically. It was basically like you could only know because like Tucker Carlson and his source thought they were the only people that knew, basically. And then this whistleblower says, look, here's the information. So he's saying he's positive that they're doing this. Tucker is the worst. Well, it doesn't matter. You don't spy on journalists. You believe this is just absolutely, come on. I'm sorry, Ace, but you read that story in your first comment as Tucker is the worst. It should be, holy crap, what is our government doing? This is not okay. I don't care if it's Tucker Carlson or Rachel Maddow or whatever. Using government surveillance to spy on and undermine journalists is so not okay. Oh, okay. No, I just heard that you just barely came in here. You're okay. You're okay. The story, Ace, is that Tucker Carlson came out last night and said that they have been provided evidence from a whistleblower that the NSA has been spying on them. I know that Fox has made fallacious claims of whistleblowers coming forward about other things. Well, so in the context, so one of the things is sometimes you can kind of read context about things. So like a really good example, actually, another story that happened recently is that there is a rumor going around that a defector from China has defected and has provided the United States with intelligence that suggests that the coronavirus came from China, from the Wuhan lab, and a bunch of other things. I forget where exactly this originated, but like people on Red State were like talking about it and confirming it. But like when you kind of look at the context of it and everything else like that, like it is actually is a rumor, because what they're saying is like this came from some source inside of the intelligence community. And it turns out that there are rumors about somebody defecting in the intelligence community all the time. So to see this kind of information out there is like not unusual, and it doesn't mean that something actually happened, right? So with that one, we should file that under, wild speculative rumor. We have no clue. But this one, Tucker Carlson came out on air and he says, we've been given proof that we were being spied on. Okay. So either he is being spied on or he is bald-faced lying to the worst degree, right? I live 15 minutes away from an MSA building. If I disappear, check there first. So I believe that what Tucker is saying is credible, but I would put an addendum to that since they only know that the NSA, that a whistleblower has provided them with information, there could be other context around it that they don't know, right? For instance, maybe the NSA was spying on them because they were having contact with people that were at the top levels of a conspiracy to overthrow the government on January 6th, right? And then all of a sudden it would be like, oh, okay. Like there's context. They had a reason to be investigating, and then this guy claims that they were going to use it to undermine the show, but it didn't actually happen, so you can't prove that there was a misuse of you know what I mean? That's how this would end up being like combed over. If nothing else, he's either going to validate that claim or get caught lying about it. You don't start a car fluffle like that and just forget about it. Yeah, exactly. Like, do you realize how big of a deal this is? It is not okay to spy on U.S. citizens without a warrant. Yeah. So this is an absolutely massive scandal. Like I don't see much about it on the internet. I didn't see r/conservative. Reddit.com/r/ then I think there's a Tucker Carlson. Yeah. And that's weird that auto completes that. That would be because I'm certainly never typed that before to that subreddit before. Okay, so they have one video about it that has 13 comments. And in conservative, I don't see it on the top. Let's search for Tucker. Oops. Control F. Tucker. No, nothing about it on r/, at least not on the top page on hot. What if we go to new? Okay. Then we get in here some of the outlets. So the story doesn't have a whole lot of traction yet, right? Let's just come over to Reddit. And we can search for Tucker. sort by relevance from the past 24 hours. Okay, there. Wow, no new normal subreddit has 97 comments on it. This is like an yeah. This is a conservative subreddit though, right? Okay, there is a thread about it on r/politics. It's on it to prove. It's on him to prove it isn't though. Yeah. How many times has he been caught lying? I have to say, guys, like, that would, when you guys talk about somebody lying, like, you're talking about some situation where there's different views of different ways that you can interpret a situation, and they might misconstrue the situation. So I have a real problem with fact checkers out there, all right? Because it's one thing to say, like, there are some situations where it's really just like a clear true or false, this thing happened or this thing didn't happen. But what they often deal with is much more nuanced issues where there is a lot of interpretation and valuation judgments in those fact checks. And I really don't feel that it's accurate to call such an analysis a fact check. You know what I mean? So when we say like Tucker Carlson has lied, what they're saying is, oh, well, okay, we went and we did a research of that and we came to a different conclusion. I wouldn't necessarily call it a lie. But that the NSA is spying on Tucker Carlson, that is, that people in the NSA are looking at his private communications. That is a black and white thing, right? It either happened or it didn't happen. And for a journalist to come out and to lie about something that black and white would be absolutely preposterous. You get what I mean? So this is where I keep saying that for some news stories, it's really clear how it goes in. I think that this is one of the cases. The probability that Tucker Carlson is like lying about this are extremely, extremely low. Okay. What is if there is some sort of mitigating information, it would be that the NSA had reason to be spying on him, that and maybe even that they had a warrant to be spying on him. That would be the piece of mitigating information that you would get, right? Which in and of itself is a big question. Like, what would justify him doing that? And I think that you'd have to go through the FISA and, was it really justified? And this would be the whole thing that happened with the Trump campaign, right? Where they said that they were spying, and they said, oh no, they weren't spying on the Trump campaign, but that was a lie. They were spying on the Trump campaign. They had court documents, and I do not believe that they should have been spying on the Trump campaign. I think that those documents, I mean, you can go into why that happened, and you can make an argument about it and whatnot, but the reality is that it shouldn't have happened, right? Okay, so I'm going to say that it's almost certain that Tucker was being spied on, but they're going to say, like, they had a warrant, right? And then point number 2 would be that the whistleblower claimed that they were going to leak information so that to try and take Tucker Carlson off the air. And that would be, you couldn't prove that, essentially, because it never happened, because they short-circuited that, right? Right. But what the private communications were that the NSA was spying on him, that if leaked could take his show off of the air, is also very questionable, right? So even though what Tucker is saying is almost unquestionably true, there's probably going to be another side to this that might not be so favorable to him, right? So let's see what r/politics is saying, because I'm surprised that there's 91 comments on it. That's definitely not the NSA spying on Tucker Carlson. It's the FBI, ever since Matt Gaetz went on his show and asked him if he remembered hanging out with that underage girl. Okay, so the politics subreddit is going immediately into the conspiracy theory that Matt Gaetz is a pedophile, which is... I actually haven't heard a whole lot about that thing. I mean, the way he delivered it isn't exactly good. Yeah, that they're going to leak information to take us off the air implies that there is information that could take his show off the air. Yeah. So this right here, this is just a perfect example of why r/politics is such a shitty subreddit. I'm sorry. But first of all, Matt Gaetz has been accused of things that hasn't been proven. And now he's trying to tie a connection to Tucker Carlson and tie a connection from that into this specific issue when there's absolutely no reason to believe that they are related. And that is the top comment, right? This is liberal conspiracy theory, like straight up. It's a liberal conspiracy. There's no data or information to lead us to believe that, but that's what they think it is. So sounds like a guilty conscience to me. Yeah, there you go, dude. The NSA is spying on everyone, so Tucker's, that's true. We got that one. They call it blue and on. I don't know. Sometimes I really wonder when I read, so we know that there are organizations that post to try and manipulate people's perception, particularly on Reddit, and that correct the record or whatever it was, like Hillary Clinton had this pack that would do this stuff, and then afterwards they kept going. People forget about that, but when I come into Reddit and all of the comments, like on a breaking issue, and all of the comments are along the same lines of something that it's like, where the heck did you even get that from? The first thing I think is this is organized storyline, essentially. If they wanted to take him down, they wouldn't leak some of the Fox News NDAs that surround almost all of their hosts. Oh, there you go. Okay. If you have nothing to hide, why are you worried? Well, that they're even spying on you is a big problem. They tend to monitor terrorists. You see, that I think is a more likely explanation for why they might be spying on him. I'm sure Tucker was equally upset. So I vaguely remember actually a story about this, but I don't think it was that clear cut. You know what, though? So do you remember during the Obama administration, and there was that journalist that said that the Obama administration was doing stuff and that they like straight up deleted files off of her computer remotely or something like that? Do you remember that one? That was weird, but like it always, that was kind of on the world of like prove that that's what actually happened, because that could just be some weird technical glitch, or you didn't realize what you were doing, sort of a thing, This sort of comment, I certainly hope they would after he spread so much. That is just scary. That is scary stuff. You cannot spy on private citizens or journalists because you don't like what they say. Okay, that is how China works, not the United States. We have laws. There you have a right to privacy. Absolutely insane. See, these guys are like, oh, it's no big deal. These are tone deaf right here. Oh, he's just doing it to rile people up. Well, what happened is something that is a huge scandal. It's an absolutely enormous, huge scandal, man. Wow. Okay. What an absurd claim. It is certainly an extraordinary claim. Let's put it that way. Yeah, let's go back and look at Trump spies on journalists. There was definitely a story about that. Okay. The U.S. Department of Justice is under increasing fire for the still unfolding scandals involving the secret surveillance of journalists and even some members of Congress in the waning days. Oh, no, I remember what this was now. Okay, yeah. So the reason that they were monitoring journalists was because they were investigating leaks, right? They were investigating Trump administration leaks, and they were trying to find where they were coming from, right? That's kind of, I mean, I think it's a fair argument to make that they shouldn't be. But here again, it's like they would have had to be doing that. They would have had to have had warrants and stuff like that, right? But it's the same thing with Tucker, right? For them to be, if they're really spying on him, they should have warrants, and if they don't, then it is a huge deal. Even if they do, it's a huge deal, I guess, because then the question is, should they really have gotten those warrants, right? So in this situation, should they have been able to get warrants to try and figure out where those leaks from the White House were coming from? Well, I certainly would support being able to get to the bottom of those leaks for sure, but probably it was the case in this particular instance that the warrants that they were given were way too broad. Like they were investigating people that didn't have anything to do with it, right? That's what happened there. I remember now. Some people do not seem to believe it. Whistleblowers are cool now. Anonymous sources are cool now. Proof. And a lot of people do not believe it. I'd say very low probability that there's nothing to this, right? What do you think moves price? Orders moves price. Right? Let me finish this. Okay. Well, that gives me, I think that I got a pretty good inkling of what people think about it. So understand the way that this works is you have a price, and then everybody puts their orders in, and those orders go to the exchange in a deterministic system that determines what price results. Okay, so you can take a given price and a given set of orders and run that through the system, and you will get the same result every time with that series of orders, right? Orders moves price. I know that seems like incredibly like stale and not really the question, or that it doesn't answer the spirit of the question, but that is how it works. God moves price. No, that is how it works, is that orders move price. So the real question would be, why do orders come in? Well, there's 1,000 reasons. You'd have to ask the person who sent the order. Yeah. Would you say the Holy Spirit? So let me try and give you, here's the question that I think you should ask, Harsh Trader. Is the market efficient? That's the question. This is the question that has always been at the very top of trading and market research. Is the market efficient? And a bunch of people came out and they said, hey, we think that current price reflects all available information. Ergo, markets are efficient. Well, they've been disproven. Okay, so they've been disproven a couple of ways. One way is that a bunch of quantitative firms went out and made tons of money trading the market over several years. That suggests that the market's not efficient, that they're able to make money off of things, right? That there are things that aren't accurately priced in by markets, and that they exist and they take advantage of them all the time. But the second is that there have been a number of empirical studies that have proven structural inefficiencies in the market. That is, they have proven certain behaviors will happen over and over and over again. Well, certain behaviors will happen consistently because of the structure of the markets. The rules and the systems that we're using to trade lead to certain behaviors. Okay, so that is also a proof that the efficient market hypothesis is incorrect, right? So then where it really comes to is like, okay, what kind of structural inefficiencies do exist? Right? There could be structural inefficiencies, there could be behavioral inefficiencies, and then there's just like random chance, right? So most people, they'll come in and they'll run a back, they'll see a certain kind of behavior in the markets, they'll run a back test and they'll say, okay, this is my trading strategy, seems to work, but do you know why? Is it happening because of a structural inefficiency, a behavioral inefficiency, or is it just random? And a lot of the time it's just random. Or like the inefficiency, maybe there is a behavior, but the inefficiency it has kind of been arbitraged out of the market on long time scales, and your analysis is just not sophisticated enough to see that, right? Good example, I saw a post yesterday on TikTok where this guy on Reddit, he went through all of his trading of the past like 2 weeks or something like that and looked for all of these candlestick patterns and found the probabilities for those probabilities for those candle patterns and posted it on Reddit. And so people were like, okay, so here's your cheat sheet for candlesticks. And I'm like, okay. We can go through and we can back test candlesticks. And I tell you, the most popular or the most successful candlestick is different every year. And when you take one pattern and you try and back test it over a very, very long time horizon, you will find that it is random. And so really what they're getting is data snooping, right? You're going through, you're finding which thing performs the best, and then that doesn't end up applying to the next set of market data, right? So it appears to novices that there is an inefficiency or a pattern there that you can take advantage of. And the reality is their analysis is just not sophisticated enough, right? Price and movement is an inefficiency. Well, I wouldn't necessarily say that. So one of the things, though, is that, for instance, if a market was efficient, then what we should see is a new piece of information hits the market. The market should go and find that new price very quickly. And proponents of efficient market hypothesis will say, well, okay, like it takes a little bit of time for those to, inefficiencies to be taken out of the market, but it comes back to the correct price very, very quickly. Okay. But that's not true either, because there are situations where we've had mispricings in the market where it takes several days for them to arrive at the correct pricing. So the reality is there is a structural inefficiency because of the limit order book. There is a limit to how far price can move on a given move because otherwise the order book becomes too stressed. And so they kind of have to wait and let the order book heal before they can continue forward, right? That's a structural inefficiency that you can take advantage of. Do you see why it's relevant now? So that's the question you should ask yourself. And then the next question would be, what is actually the correct price? How do you determine like what is the actual real fair price, right? And that's a whole other study, because you can go and you can do fundamental evaluation of it. You can try and value it compared to other related assets, right? And then once you know what the asset should really be worth, then you can make judgments on whether it's undervalued or overvalued at the current time, right? In essence, you could say it's all random, but in another sense, randomness has this way of structuring itself in surprisingly complicated ways. Well, I would say that it's random, but there's certain properties to the randomness that are kind of interesting, but then there are specific behaviors that are not random. There are behaviors that are different from just a simple Gaussian distribution. I was born naked, screaming with no clue as to what was going on, and this is how I train. Are you saying that you come here on my stream every day and watch me and you're not wearing any clothes the whole time? This whole time? Oh, man. No, my robot got stumped out. That's unfortunate. Well, we'll see if it takes any more traits. It probably shouldn't take any more traits, but I refuse to wear pants watching. You're surprised that you're not long? Well, I do think that probably the direction is up in the E-mini, but like it's so close to the open. And remember how many times we've had this situation where it opens up and it immediately goes down, right? So I don't really want to touch it yet. Fed's Barkin is talking. I would be ready to start tapering as soon as substantial further progress on employment has been met. Okay, that's probably part of why the treasuries are moving around everywhere. I prefer the least drama approach to tapering. He says agreed, plus the all-time high. Yeah, well, actually, that's a good point too. Well, the thing is that yesterday, I would say that action was bearish but extremely choppy, right? And it appears that the only reason that the indexes were able to pull out a gain yesterday was because of the announcement on Facebook's court case. So, assuming that Facebook has now at fair value, given that new piece of information, do we really have a reason to continue moving up? Is kind of the question. So, I was just realizing was that I haven't gotten the Gabby gap in a while. And I'm wondering if maybe it's because I just switched the data feed in NinjaTrader. Because I'm using CQG, and in CQG those gaps don't happen. I don't believe that's the case, but it could be. I believe that it's more likely that action has just been really constrained lately, but I don't know. We should keep an eye on that one. How long does it take for orders to get absorbed on ES? Yeah, you're asking a question in a way that doesn't really make sense. I don't know. So we did a video where we compared the CQG and rhythmic data, and they were exactly the same. We did it for one session. But it's just those gaps just haven't been happening lately, and it's a little odd. Because like last week, or was it 2 weeks ago, there was like a bunch of them were happening, and it was kind of usually a lot. But this week we haven't really heard the sound, have we? And in order for it to not work, there would have to be a bunch of other weird data aberrations that you would see, and people would be talking. By the way, the dollar is coming back pretty hard here. This looks like more of a relief rally from the euro, but it does put us back to 92. That was the ninja. Yeah, no. And it wasn't even that slow, right? It was like maximum 30 milliseconds or something, right? Or I guess 60, like a maximum 50 to 60 milliseconds, but probably a lot less than that. So it was probably 20 to 30. But the difference that you saw was a difference of one frame, which is trivial. But the thing that I'm talking about is like it's, there was places where Rhythmic said that only one order transacted or no orders transacted, and I haven't gotten any of those since switching to the CQG data. So that's something very, very different, right? That's them giving me different set of actual market orders, which is completely different, and that should not happen. Like CQG and Rhythmic may filter out how the level 2 changes come into you differently, but every data feed should end up giving you the same set of orders, of market orders in the end. Well, the bridge is slow. I would say that 30 milliseconds is really pushing the definition of slow. But yes, I probably would be better for you to connect directly to your data feed with Jigsaw. Okay, so there's the open. It is a buy. I'd say it's a fairly substantial buy too. Yeah. I kind of wonder, because with Rhythmic, you can do the Rhythmic Trader Pro, but I think, or rather, I suspect that Rhythmic Trader Pro is doing the same thing as the Ninja Trader Bridge does. I think that they're creating I think that they're using the CLR to share a memory space between multiple applications, if that makes sense. And so the extra little latency that you get is just the time it takes for the one application to check in the bucket, essentially. Okay, so the first impulse was an up move. It's a little slow now afterwards. They didn't get very far before the momentum diminished. So I see all this. Yep, yes, true. But I don't know which things you were responding to, so that's kind of not really helpful to me. I'm glad you agree. Fairly balanced day. Yeah. Well, Ace is going long. I can't necessarily ascertain why that spot. The V-way is long, apparently. I was thinking about our little V-way, episode yesterday, and we were saying, oh, we should call the inventory cost basis the V. No, let's just call the inventory cost basis the inventory cost basis. The V-way should be code for. I don't really know why I think that we're positioned in a certain direction. I just think that we're long. That's what the V-way is. That was in response to the fact that there was not much of a difference that can be taken advantage of. Yeah. Yeah. I guess because when we show it, if you go back and watch that video, you'd have to go into the so I don't put the live streams on the channel page anymore. They're unlisted, but there is a big playlist with all of them in there. So you'd have to search through the playlist to find it. But you go and you find it. You can see that like there does appear to be some updates that like I'm not sure if it's either like one gets it and the other doesn't, or if it's like they just come in different orders. But it's like it's just noise essentially. It is interesting though. Dollar continues to show weakness. Wait. You went long at 86 and you just took it off at 87? Treasury's getting another pretty solid bid, wouldn't you say? So that one right there is actually tradable. Oh, it's summer. And you still have it. You can still let it extend. See, there's now 88. Now it's more of a like a. Hey, that's an okay trade. Thanks, Dad. Yeah. I don't know. I'm jealous is what it is, Ace. It's like, oh, he took a trade and got something and I'm just sitting here. And really what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to convince myself that it's the right thing for me to sit on my hands. So it really is what it is. Because like I like to click. The things that I'm seeing, I mean, it's pointed up, but I don't really have a really good reason to think that it's going to keep going up or any price like that. So how can I justify this particular spot as a trade? I don't think I really got anything there. Why would the CBOE tweet that? 18 trades were executed in VIX options overnight, totaling 86 contracts. 20% of the volume was market spread. Okay, that's not a lot, but I guess it's overnight. It's options. It's weird. Switch over to the MES and put on one card satisfied. Well, no, I think that practicing sitting on your hands is a worthwhile endeavor, right? There are times when it's just doesn't make sense to trade, and exercising the restraints is more beneficial, you know? I do think that, well, I need the volume. There does appear to be enough activity to possibly get something. Well, that trade in the treasury didn't work out very well at all. I had a reason to think that I could get it, but it just doesn't look like it worked out. It was, I don't think that it was a bad trade per se, but it does look like there was one that I would want to filter out. It was a little bit too iffy to have taken. Unfortunate. I feel a little like, ugh. The rush of floatiness just hit my head. Tight market, don't know what to say. Bennett Tolan says Bitfinex and Tether pay bots and sock puppets to manipulate social media. It seems to me that everybody pays bots and sock puppets to manipulate social media. It seems to me that this is a huge industry that we can't even fathom how much it is. How much of our interaction is with bots or paid trolls? I really wonder. Although in Bitcoin, you don't necessarily have to pay people, right? There are so many people out there that will just say whatever it is they think will help the price of Bitcoin. Okay, well, I did get to go bid, so... The Wu Mao army, yeah. Oh my gosh, dude, Uzi. So you're talking about the people that China pays to comment on things, right? So there's this guy on TikTok. I forget what his name is because it's kind of weird, but he's an Aussie that specializes mostly in history, but he does talk about current issues, because they're pertinent to historical things too, right? So, and he's kind of like, his specialty is like military and foreign policy stuff. So he's very much like, okay, if there was a war between this power and everything, what would happen, sort of a thing. And then he can go through, okay, well, these are the different military doctrines of those countries right now and the assets that they have, and here's how it would play out, sort of a thing. It's really cool. Anyways, and he was saying stuff about China. So they were saying, oh, China's not so bad. The commenters were saying this, that China's not so bad, and this is all just, Western aggression towards China. And he's like, no, because United States has nothing to do with Malaysia and Vietnam and all of these other countries that are being bullied by China. And the only reason the US is getting pulled in is because these other powers are begging for help, basically, right? So he was getting a ton of China shills coming in and trying to defend China. A ton. And oh my gosh, he was so good at it. He would come in, he would deconstruct the comment, and he would say, okay, so here is the propaganda line that China tries to use, and here is why they try and use that propaganda line, and here is why it is just so ridiculous and objectively false, right? Like they're saying, one of the commenters was saying, oh, this is just the Western media out to get China. And it was like, well, no, because in China, you have a state-controlled media, but in the United States, we have an independent media that can do and say whatever it wants, and there's a wide swath of different players in the media market that all can say whatever it is that they want, and yet they all overwhelmingly point out all of the bad things that China are doing. And why is it doing that? It's not because it's some sort of controlled campaign against China. It's because China really deserves the criticism. And I just thought it was such a good response. Like, it was just such a good response. But man, yeah, does the Wu Mao army exist? It does. And is there a Democrat army of commenters out there? Yes, there is. They're probably not a very large operation right now, but they're out there. Because he says Twitter is literally a China intelligence operation. Or remember this whole thing about how, like, a lot of these social media companies, particularly Facebook, had like government contracts right from the beginning. This is definitely the case that the government wants this information to be collected. Nearly everything that happens in political and cultural spheres happens because of Twitter. I think you might be saying something that's a little, maybe making too broad of a comment, of a statement. But I think what you're getting at is that a lot of the really crazy, seemingly crazy political issues that we are dealing with today would not exist in a normal world and seem to have originated on Twitter. That's, I think I would agree with. And there are aspects of culture and politics right now that in 2012 were legit Tumblr. Yeah, that's total. Yeah. I saw from the beginning, because I remember the way that it started with me was like, oh, Twitter is a thing. I should make a Twitter account and try and build it up. I kind of started, and I didn't get very far, and then I lost that account. I couldn't retrieve it, and then I made the Speculator Seth account. It was a different one, anyways, right? And I find it really hard to grow on Twitter, by the way. You know, what the frustrating thing about Twitter is that if you get involved in the right conversation, you get so much interaction. Some of these threads that I've gotten in, they're like hundreds and thousands of comments, and it's just ridiculous. But then you don't get any followers from it. It's like, what the heck? They hate me that much on Twitter, right? But the other thing is that Twitter seems to be the worst at encouraging negative engagement. Like, I think it's even worse than Facebook to some extent. Just something about the way that, like, everything is like feels so isolated in Twitter. You know what I mean? Like, when I'm on Facebook, okay, and I have an argument with somebody on Facebook, the first thing my wife will ask me about it is like, where was it? You know, okay, was it in a Facebook group? Was it on your page? Like, and what group of friends were like, you know, what community is involved, right? When you go on to Twitter, there's no groups like that. It's just a conversation in this vast void of tweets, 99% of which nobody ever reads, you know? And then this one tiny little segment that gets attention, it only gets attention because two people are arguing. It's so negative. You look way better with the beard stubs. I almost always have a little bit. I just shave it to the lowest setting on my razor, and it tends to get a little bit longer after a week or two, and maybe I do it every week or every other week. 10% of Twitter users publish 90% of tweets. Well, and a lot of it is political people. There is certainly something to be said that that a lot of journalists in particular are active on Twitter. I tell you what, one of the biggest problems that we have in our society right now is that traditional media does not really have an informational advantage over regular citizen journalists right now. So a lot of news organizations are getting their information from Twitter. And like that sort of stuff is breaking as they're getting it from Twitter. And then when you come into the analysis and everything, it's like they say the same things. And there's a lot of problems with the stuff that you see on Twitter. There are some like analyst type people that are like really. So I'll give you an example. On Hot Air. Hot Air is a website that I've always gone to for my more conservative band of things, because they're like more of an establishment conservative website. So they're not into some of the more crazy things. Okay. And there's this one guy on that website named Allah Pundit, which I guess started out as a satirical Twitter account, making fun of, I don't know, having something to do with the war on terror and everything else like that, right? But this guy, sometimes I wonder if he's actually a Republican. Like, I'm not entirely sure, because he sure seems to go the Democrats' way on a lot of things, right? And he has so many takes that I think are just terrible. But the thing that bothers me the most about it is that he engages so much in wild speculation. And the kind of wild speculation that he engages in is very much colored by what he reads on Twitter. Like, every time I read one of his articles, I'm like, this guy spends too much time on Twitter. You know? Developer friend explained that to me. Apparently, Twitter was the first tech thing that journals actually got in front of. So now it is. They're all on it. All of the political people and the journalists, they're on Twitter. And that's basically what Twitter has become, is like breaking news. If it wasn't for that one aspect of Twitter, I'm not sure there would be very much reason for people to use it. Like, why wouldn't people just use their Facebook pages at that point? It's a way better platform for sharing content, you know? I can just very clearly in my mind run through the whole history of it, because I remember back when it was Web 2.0. So this was like 2008, about like 3 years after my mission, 2 years after my mission. So YouTube was already a thing. But and Facebook was a thing, but I think that at that time Facebook did not have status updates yet. It's funny because most of the activity on Facebook now is status updates, and that wasn't a thing in Facebook in the beginning. Believe it or not, kids. But what I was used to was forums, and I was always really irritated because there was a bunch of people on the forum that I visited, at least, that were very disrespectful and rude and vulgar, and were very liberal. So I kind of always associated like vulgar people with being liberals, which is kind of funny because now it's like almost exactly the opposite. The liberals seem to be the ones that are like way too clean and proper everything, and conservatives are the ones with the rough edges now. It's I don't know what happened, but that's conservatives are the counterculture now. I digress. So Twitter was a thing, and I was like, well, maybe there are other services that are newer that I can get into, that I can stick a door into. So there was one called Pounce that I actually really liked. Pounce was actually a really good website, but it didn't do very well. But because of Pounce, I started to get a window into that, like, the San Francisco entrepreneur world, because like the lead developers on that and a bunch of the people that would participate on those websites, those were the types, right? So these guys that they're tech entrepreneurs, and on the weekends they all go to the same inspirational talk together, that sort of a thing, and talk about how to become rich. Okay. And these are the kinds of people that created Twitter. And it was very apparent to me right from the get-go, and this was like the beginning of the Obama administration, right? It was very apparent to me that these people were very liberal, which was like, this is like big business. You wouldn't expect that. But the tech crowd was very liberal, right? And what always bothered me, how they seemed to encourage a certain group of politics to flourish on the platform and discourage another set of politics on the platform, right? But it was mostly through their personal advocacy. And you kind of see how it's developed today, where it's like, if you're a conservative on Twitter, like, you're likely to just get silenced. Like Nassim Taleb, I'm not sure if I would consider him a conservative per se, but he's definitely like a disagreeable person. He DGAF, right? And I'm surprised that Twitter hasn't banned him yet. I'm glad, because I really, really like his content. But I'm surprised that Twitter hasn't banned him yet, And yeah, it's a little sickening how it went from that, and I knew it back then, and I thought it was a problem, to like now they're like literally trying to control people and create thought crime, and we're spying on journalists, and it's just insane how it's developed to this point. And when you really get down to it, there are two problems. One is that the social media does not encourage the kind of interactions that we actually want. Social media discussion does not encourage the kind of discussions that would be beneficial to society. And the problem number two is that the tech companies themselves exercise too much power over their platforms to try and control people's conversations. Both of those things need to change. And there's a lot of societal problems that we have because of those two problems. 100%. Sorry for the non-trading related lecture, but that's what we're facing. I guess you have to factor it in to your trading, because, it's the way that people think now, and it affects the way that they react to certain news, and it affects the way that certain news is disseminated. It's really, something else. So my trade actually did end up working out. Like, I set the 2 ticks risk, and it never violated it. Had 1 tick against it. I got in at 05. So I could probably take it from 05 half to 06 again, but the inefficiency doesn't appear to be there anymore. There's a pretty good spread, though. It's pretty good steepening going on today. That might just be a reversal. Like yesterday, things steepened or flattened so much that the dollar continues to be pressured to the downside. And the E-mini continues to trade in basically no man's land. We've got like a 3-4 point range in the E-mini. 20 out of 100 have some form of narcissism, therefore it is a waste of time. Well, I think that sometimes narcissism gets because narcissism is considered like a personality trait. They have the personality traits, and there's 3 personality traits that are negative. And narcissism is one of them. And so when you say somebody is narcissistic, that doesn't necessarily mean that they have narcissistic personality disorder. You know what I mean? So there's being interested in yourself to a certain extent is a good thing. I tell you what, these women that are not, that have zero narcissism in them at all, they don't care what they look like or how people perceive anything, it's not a good trait to have. It's not. There's negative outcomes associated with it. That's what I'm saying. Salim asks weird questions. Do you think it's so? I'm wondering, because I do kind of suspect that it's him, and I also suspect that the person that was asking me a lot of questions yesterday was him. But if it is him, he is acting a little bit differently, right? He still asks weird questions, but they don't seem nearly as how do I say, that they don't seem nearly as geared towards trying to undermine the stream, So that's I'm like, you know what, I don't want a personal animosity. So if he can behave himself, then that's great. And so far, even though I do kind of think he's asking some weird questions, and I'm kind of going where is some of this stuff coming from? He does. He asks distracting questions. Yeah. Well, he's asking about people feel sad during the winter and happy during the summer. It can comment on the effect of the sun on mental health. That's kind of a funny question, because we could apply it to trading, right? But it seems to me that the effects that might have on trading are vastly outweighed by other things, right? Because the way that the summer affects the business cycle, in that there's far less business activity because there's a lot less business reports going on at that time. And that matters way more to the markets than any effect that the sun might have. Maybe that just attracts autistic kids. Well, I would. I would probably be more likely to attract somebody that's autistic, yes. I mean, the thing is that I think that if you are a very, what is the word? If you are a very agreeable person and you have an opinion, a strong opinion that is contrary to my own, I would suspect that such a person would not enjoy the stream. I think that the disagreeable people probably enjoy it more. And when we look at the people that are here on the stream every day, like Uzi and Ace, they both have a certain amount of disagreeable personality traits, wouldn't you say? But that's probably also that traders just tend to be disagreeable. I wonder, it seems to me that if you are a very agreeable person, that might be a detriment to your trading. He says I disagree. And then there was the other thing, which was our video getting bombed yesterday, and I'm like, well, that's the sort of thing that Salim would do, but what, does he like me now? I don't understand. Because that video got, oh my gosh, it was so weird. The thing that I think is really particular. So it happened like it was getting thousands of likes and views, and then all of a sudden it just stopped. It completely stopped. And I'm like, okay, so did somebody turn the bot off, or did YouTube do something to stop it, or was there actually some organic reach coming in, and then YouTube decided, oh, it's not actually getting the traction justified by the number of likes that it has, and cut it off? I don't know if I'm the only person. I'm apparently if that is Salim, or if he's here, apparently I'm not the only person that he visits. So but then I had that other video that picked up a lot of traction, but from what I'm looking at on the stats, I don't know if that had any correlation at all. It looks like I just had a really good thumbnail in that one. So, hey. It's good. I hope that on that video that people translate into the other videos, because those last 4 videos that I did, I gave away a lot of information. I mean, I look back on it, this page, like, let me show you, man. And here was the document that I wrote up for it, that I used as the script. 10 pages. 10 pages split across 4 videos. It's legal in Utah. Congrats. I'm already married to a woman. Stop it. We have children. Oh my gosh. You know what? So can I tell you an issue that I'm having? I don't know if I would really consider it an issue, but kind of a personal thing. I would like your opinion. Maybe Ace could comment on this. Okay. My wife is too easygoing. So like, I worked out. We're still. I think we still got a good thing. We're still having lots of conversations and fun and things like that. But when like I have free time, I'm usually thinking, let's go play Overwatch. Lately, at least, I've been playing a lot of Overwatch. Okay, I've put in a ton of hours this last season in Overwatch. Like way more than I normally would. So it's like I'm done with dinner, and then I ask her, okay, so like, is there anything that we need to do? Do you have any plans? Like, I don't want you to be bored, but I think I'm going to go and play Overwatch. And she's like, oh yeah, no, just go and play. Right. And I think last night, she was in her craft room, and she was like organizing things. Like she had some shelves and stuff that she had bought like years ago and never used. And like, she was putting them up and everything. I'm like I want to make sure that you are enjoying whatever it is that you're doing. Like, if we're not doing something, then I hope that you're enjoying what you're doing as much as I'm enjoying what I'm doing. Otherwise, like, I need to come in and we need to find something to do together that would be fun and interesting and new, or something like that. You know what I mean? A craft room. My God, you're so white. I know, right? It really is like... Lets you trade, play Overwatch all night. You need to get rid of her. It's this thing is, so it's like the thing I'm worried about is that, like, it's too, like, everybody else has problems with these. Everybody else, it's like, oh, you play the computer too much. Like I would make me feel a little bit better if it was like, nah, you've been playing too much. We're gonna watch a movie tonight, or something, something like that. Because I can't tell, like. The thing is I because I ask her, and she says, no, everything's fine and I'm doing what I want to do. But in the back of my head, I'm thinking like, okay, but if something was wrong, she wouldn't say anything, and she would continue to let me do what I want to do. And then maybe she would get bored, and then, that could cause a problem later on down the line. You know what I mean? If the neighbors don't call the cops once a month, you are doing it wrong. But that's what was going through my head last night. I was like, but I think that the other thing is that we just have very different interests for most of the time, right? Like, I want to play a game. She's not going to go and play a game. She's going to go and do crafts, or she's going to binge watch a show on Netflix, shows that I can't stand. Okay. So like, but to me, I'm like, man, if I was my wife, I would be bored out of my mind. And she doesn't seem to be, so. You're too complicated in your head? Probably I am. Probably a good portion of it is my own anxious attachment, that even if things are going really, really great, I'm still concerned that like something could be going wrong. Crafts, pregnancy, more crafts, children, food storage, match. That's exactly what it is like. Although she does not like doing the laundry. She does not like doing the laundry. She does not like cooking. So my mom has always said that there's the trifecta of womanhood. There's cooking, cleaning, and being pretty, right? And I was looking at it and I was like, well, I mean, she's pretty, but she doesn't, I mean, she's okay at cooking, but she's not great at cooking. And she's okay at cleaning, and she does it, but she doesn't like doing it. But I guess those two things, you don't necessarily have to enjoy doing them for them to be part of the trifecta of womanhood. I don't know. But what I have discovered actually is there is a fourth dimension. So it is not the trifecta of womanhood, it is the pyramid. It's a triangular pyramid. It's like one of these little it's like, oh, I don't have the pen open. There we go. It's like one of these. There's a triangle, and then there's this triangle here too, right? It's one of them pyramids, right? So here there's cooking, cleaning, looking good. Okay. So what I've discovered is there is a fourth dimension. It is gardening. And she likes her garden. I did not realize how much. I guess it was because she didn't really have that at her before she got married, and she didn't have the time to put into it. But now that she has the time to put into it, yeah, she likes the garden. And she has bought a lot of plants. And it looks great out there. If my wife ever figures out just how much I'm married up, I will be in trouble. In the meantime, I do the laundry and bathrooms, most of the cooking and cleaning in here. Oh, bad. Ugh. Now, I think that there's one for men too. But I haven't completely figured out what it is. What the dimension of it is. One is, I think that one is being strong. One is smoking meat. Yeah. Those two, and then one, and I think another dimension is World War II history. Oh, let me do that over again. I think another one is World War II history. Oh no, you know what the other dimension has to be is money. That's what it is. That is what it is. We should test this on TikTok today, and we'll see if it holds true. We'll see what people think about it. For me, it's yelling, screaming, and eating. She likes plants. We gotta get them together, Ace. Maybe they would really like each other. Except for you live far away. I need to get her more. So one of the problems that I think we have right now is that most of our older friends just live a lot further away now, you know? And the people in the neighborhood are great and very friendly, and we talk with them and everything, but we don't have like a really strong connection with anybody in the neighborhood. So for me, it's yelling, screaming, and eating. I am forbidden to water the succulents. I can look at them. That is so the way it is. Oh my gosh, I got this plant. You ask her about my plant. Do you have peace lilies inside of your house? If you don't have peace lilies, you should get peace lilies. But my peace lily here, I'll show you. It doesn't seem like it's doing very well. I feel like I would have liked to have gotten along again, but I didn't see an opportunity. So what you gonna do? It looks like it's just gonna keep going. See, here's my plant, but like when you look at the leaves, you see this leaf? It's kind of like twisted. That makes sense? It's not like a perfect, and I suppose that it's supposed to do that to some extent, but some of these, like this one, this is a really thin leaf, and it's kind of weird, and I think that there's something wrong with it. Because I went to the store the other day, and they had a peace lily, and its leaves looked so much better. And I'm like, is it planted in the wrong soil? Am I not watering in it? Like it doesn't look right. So, but that's my plant. I thought our peace lily was fake for a month. Some guy knocked on my door and asked to borrow my phone. I looked at him side-eyed, and turns out he's been my neighbor for 2 years. Oh, man. Well, I mean, here's what's happened, though, right? There's two things. One is that a lot of neighborhoods have become rental neighborhoods, and when you're in a rental neighborhood, you don't want to talk to any of your neighbors. I've seen that a lot. Like when I was in those apartments, like nobody ever wanted to talk to you. They wanted to keep to themselves, which was kind of weird because you'd think that they were in closer proximity, that they'd be more likely to speak to each other. Like in China, you have apartments like that. The people in that neighborhood, they spend a lot of time outside of their apartment in the common areas, and they know each other really well. So there's a movie on Netflix called Wish Dragon that I think gives a pretty good, at least as the way it was explained to me from my dad, who lived in Hong Kong for a few years, gives a pretty good look into what those communities are like. I thought it was funny. But the other thing is that it used to be that you would know everybody in the neighborhood because you were likely to all go to the same church or something like that, right? And that is much, much less a part of American life. So people don't know their neighbors as well. I probably know my neighbors better than most people do because almost every one of my neighbors goes to the same church. Every family. Like there's probably 2 houses in the whole ward that don't go to church. Like even after, because they've started having church again after COVID, like, full, you can sit in every row and you don't have to wear masks together, or you don't have to wear masks and all that. And we have all of the meetings. So we just barely started that up again. And everybody's there like right away. I thought that it would be like, it would take a long time to build back up and there'd be a lot of people that would go inactive after that. And yeah, no, like everybody's there. Everybody's there. I was surprised because like it was like only 2 weeks ago that my mom was like, okay, you have to come to church now because they don't require masks anymore. And I was like, oh. So I did. It was too much work to wake up at 9:30 in the morning. That's what I don't like. A guy lived next door to me in the Italian mafia. His dog would get loose and I'd return it and invite me in, and he just had cash all over his house, scratched a handful and paid me for returning his dog. Oh, that's funny. Oh, that's crazy. If I saw that, I would move. That would scare the heck out of me, man. Oh. I'm really like sitting here wondering, like, should I just be like straight buying this in the I don't really know. We seem to have been getting some really good trends in that. Wouldn't you say, Uzi? Like we've been getting some really strong trends in the treasuries and they seem to materialize out of nowhere. And it's really hard to decipher where it's coming from or how far it's going to go. But it continues to surprise. Because I got from 05 to 06. And then I was looking at it again and I was like, well, I could maybe buy 05 and take 05 to 05 half to 06 again. But I didn't really see an inefficiency or an opportunity to really catch a really high probability trade. But then if I had taken it, it would have worked out in the end because there was just some really strong momentum. And then we ended up moving 4 ticks up. And I feel left out. And meanwhile, the E-mini isn't doing anything. You believe this? We've been open for 45 minutes and it's only moved 8 ticks. Like, that is bad action in the ES. I'm thinking about it and I'm surprised that Ace was able to get anything out of the trades that he did today. You were really lucky, man. You were actually really lucky. Nah, he moved eventually. Oh, there you go. Do you think it's worth it to spend more on a good quality headset? With everything, it depends. So, if all you're using it for is trading, then probably not. If you spend a lot of time talking to people or you spend a lot of time gaming, then having like higher quality sound headphones really makes a difference, in terms of how much you enjoy it. And then there are definitely some advantages to having a good microphone. So like if you want a good side microphone, Mod Mic Wireless is a pretty good choice. Ice is actually break even. Oh, because you tried shorting again. But why? So can you explain that? Like, because you did catch somewhat of a winner. I'm guessing that you took the profit on the first 2 contracts and then the rest you had to break even. But then why did you keep trading? Yes, I am bored. Was that really it? Is you're just bored? I'm that not interesting today? Hey, if you're that bored, now would be a really great time to try and get on Discord. I'm just saying. This work 17 hours and you don't trade for that long. Have you ever traded for 17 hours before? I thought it was good. Okay. Well, I can understand why you might have thought it was going to drop too, because I kind of thought it was going to drop too. But I just looked at it, was like, this is terrible. The Treasury is where it's at, man. Treasury probably still has to come. Oh, you know what happened was, why didn't I hear that over Financial Juice? Maybe I did, and I filtered it out of my head. But there was the consumer confidence number. What was it? 127 versus an estimated 119. So it was a really good consumer confidence number at 8 o'clock, and the market just kind of yawned. Heck no, I don't do things I like to do for 17 hours. The key seems to me is to take smaller profits, get that point when offered. Yeah, so how do I put this, TAs? If you take a smaller target, you're going to tend to catch it more often. But there are actually, the smaller your target is, the more randomness there really is to it, to be honest. So it's very possible that you could be catching a point at a time and you not really actually have a good strategy in the long run. You kind of seem to have had some good runs, but I don't know, if your performance lately has been iffy, then that might be something to consider. Yeah, if your losses are bigger, I know, but it's not even that. It's just that the smaller that your target is, there could just be some random freak move that causes it to go into your stop or your target. You're just way more at the mercy of the market. The ugly dude says Matt. Yeah, so he takes a pretty big stop and then he's taking a small target. And so, yeah, that one's kind of a different thing. But again, it's very much there's a lot of randomness to it. There really is. And you can get yourself into situations where it seems like it's working and it doesn't. Like this robot that I've been developing, because there are things about it that make it difficult to backtest, and I don't really have the quality of data that I would need to really truly backtest it, because I would need true level 2 data going back 5 years and then trade all of that and see how it does, and then maybe I could feel confident in it. Since I can't do that, I just have to go step by step and see that one day when you blow up your account, yeah, that's different. I mean, I've done it too, right? Often what will happen to me is I'll just take a string of trades and I should be stopping and I don't. And when you get into that mode, it's almost like you just don't notice for some reason. So yeah, when it's small, it's kind of you're putting yourself more at the mercy of the market. But the bigger thing though is there should actually be an edge to when you get in and out. You know what I mean? So I think that the real answer to that problem is that you should be trading something where you know that there is a real market inefficiency. Because if you know where there is a real market inefficiency, then you have a much better idea of where it should go to, or what the order flow should look like when we get to where it's going to go to. You know what I mean? Any other situation, you're just you're changing around your stop and target, and you're just changing, you have this whole stochastic space, and you're just controlling these two stochastic variables that just kind of give you more randomness, right? If these two things over here are something that's based on like a real valuation that you can like point to, like there's real reasons why the asset should be worth this thing at a given time, then it's different, right? This is like a set of things that should happen, and then you can go in and you can select the ones that you want and you can filter it, you know? It's a way better setup. So on that point, if we have a real inefficiency and we know how big of a mispricing that real inefficiency is, then we don't have to think about, should I take a 4 points or 8 points or whatever? I should just know what price it's going to and be able to adjust that way, right? So when I'm doing these treasury trades, the way that I'm sorting that out is I generally know that I could get 1 to 3 ticks off of the mispricing that I'm doing. And then I will adjust it based off of how much backwash the market is actually getting. So I've been noticing that I've had to increase it to 2 quite a bit lately. But once you take it onto the 2, getting a pretty high win rate with it, right? And that's like equal win loss. So there, because I have an actual real market, something that I know is a market inefficiency, it's a structural inefficiency, right? And now all of a sudden you can get equal risk reward and good probability because there's like a really likely for it to happen. Isn't 2 ticks too small? The Ugly Dude asks. It might. Well, I don't know. We'll see. But so what I'm doing is a little bit of a newer trade and a newer thing that I've been trying for maybe the last 2 months, I think, and I still don't feel very confident or good at it. And you might be right. It may turn out that with the commissions and everything, that 2 ticks just doesn't work out. You don't understand. I'm looking for like 70% win rate. So let's go back. Let's see here. I think I can. Oh, I have to change the filters. I hate it when it does that. Okay. Filter editor. Instrument begins with Z. Okay. And then let's try going back to the beginning of June. So I did have some periods where I took some trades that I shouldn't have. And I think that we should filter those ones. Oh, actually, you know what we can do? Filter editor and fills is 2. Very good. Okay. Well, there's still some bad ones in there. Okay, but let's. So like, here's one that was a mistake, and here's one that was a mistake. So let's discount those 2, right? Oh, okay. So like, we could just do it with MAE, huh? Let's just filter it like that. Okay, filter editor. And MAE, because that's an issue that we know exists. I don't know if I can fix it or not, but MAE not begins with is less than 2. There we go. Okay. Oh, why does that one still show? Because it's 10. Oh, because they filter it based. They don't filter it based on a number. That's so dumb. Okay, well, we're just going to have to do it by hand then. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That one shouldn't count. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. 23. And on fails, so we'll count that one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6. So this was an area where I shouldn't have been. There was a couple that I took that weren't correct. 7. So here I gave up on the strategy and started doing something else. 7, 8, 9, 10. 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 and 23. Which ends up being 37, right? And what is 23 out of 37? 62. Okay, so if we take out our mistakes, which is a really big caveat, understand. If we take out our mistakes, we're hitting 62%, and the goal is 70%. Right? Now, maybe some of that is that one tick is too small, and I should switch to always going for 2. But just the fact that I can have like an equal risk reward and get above 50% win rate is, I think, proof that you can come in, that there are structural inefficiencies that a retail trader could potentially take advantage of. Yeah. It's a difficult one to trade, though. It's very difficult to trade. Oh, did we take another one over in here? Oh, we did. Interesting. Interesting. What is that based on? What is the trade based on? Well, that's a secret. Sorry. Oh, dude, Ace, he wakes up. So you would think, you're on the East Coast, you don't have to work out. You don't have to wake up as early, right? No, he still wakes up early. He wakes up insanely early and trades the London session. And he has found some pretty good edge from trading the momentum coming off of the London session. Oh, he's been doing summer stuff though, huh? You got rained out this morning on fishing. Okay. Oh, TradeRadar says that then Tradeovate, they have drawdown functions that cut you off for the day. That's cool. No, he lives in Ontario, I believe. I'm like double checking myself. I'm like, do I have the name of the city right? It's the big city over in Canada that's not Montreal. I'm pretty sure that's Ontario. Is the London session volatile enough? So there's some disadvantages to it because there's definitely not as much like volume during that time. But if you go and look at charts, you'll notice that there's definitely some like trend that comes off of the London session for some reason. Remember that term, structural inefficiency, okay? If your trade can be based on a structural inefficiency, that is the optimal situation. I'm not saying that you have to have a structural inefficiency for it to be a trade, but if it's based on a structural inefficiency, that is much more likely to be an effective trade. Unfortunately, it's also much more likely to have competition. That's kind of my problem. What I'm doing here, if there wasn't any competition, I would just smash it, you know? But there's competition and people in line. In fact, if there weren't the robots that get the fast position in line, I bet you that if it was all humans and we were like tediously putting bids and offers on every tick, and I did what I'm doing, I think I would do pretty well. I feel like I still need a lot of practice though. Okay, let's get that to 70%. 70% is hard. But I think it's doable because there's always those times where I'm like, well, that was a little iffy. I shouldn't have taken that one. Smash the competition, yeah. Trade of 8 has a heavy partnership with TST, yeah. That's pretty smart. After we do the earn to trade combine, and then maybe the other ones will come by and they'll want us to do one for them. And I can try that because I haven't looked at their other platform in a while. I should look into some others. So one of the things that's kind of funny is I switched brokers recently, and one of the reasons why I wanted to switch was so that I could use my full NinjaTrader license. And there was a lot of indicators and stuff that I couldn't use that I missed and stuff like that. But now that I have it, like I haven't bothered to use them. It was like the footprint chart was the one that I really missed, but it just hasn't been relevant lately. I won't take up much space. I'll sleep in the boat, catch my own food. I just need a potty and a hot plate. Oh my gosh. Oh, John, you missed the funniest thing yesterday. So we were talking, Ace was saying, oh, we just crossed the VWAP, but he misspelled it and typed VWay. And I don't know how he got a Y from the P, but somehow he did. And then somebody else in chat, I forget who it was, said, oh, the VWay must stand for volume weighted average yeet. So from now on, when you have an inkling that it's going to go a certain direction and you're anticipating a move in a direction and you don't know why, we're just going to say that the VWay is pointing up or pointing down. That's the thing now. Sounds like you're planning a fishing trip, Ace. Ah! Have fun, you two. Man. Hey, John, while he's there, teach him how to use Discord. and if he gives you any crap, them youngsters giving you crap about technology or anything, just point out to him that he can't figure out Discord. Every day is a fishing trip when you trade. Oh, I get it. When I think fishing, I think about fishing in Stardew Valley, which is nothing like actual fishing, but it is fun. It is kind of fun. I'm not legally allowed in Canada. Something about trying to cross with a Trump one. Not something Ace would do. Fortunately. Can't blame him for having trouble with Discord. I guess. I think it's a pretty effective application. I'm surprised he has a hard time getting in. But I don't think that it's that he has a hard time getting in. I think that it's that he's just too lazy to verify his phone number. I click and it doesn't do anything. I need to make a video tutorial for him how to use Discord. And then we can talk about all of the lovely things about the Futures Trading Discord. Hey, actually, that's not a bad idea for a video. Hey, we could do that for this weekend. Let's see here. I think I would have to do one where, like, well, maybe I could use my wife's phone number. Yeah, we'll do it. I will do it and show you how to get into Discord. And then we'll say that the video was specifically for Ace, and it'll be fun. Two-factor verification stuff is a pain. It is. But yeah, man, you know what drives me crazy is like, okay, when we changed the verification so that you had to have a phone number associated with your account in order to get in order to avoid spam, it did decrease the amount of spam that we got for like a week. But we still get these guys that they're like real accounts, because I mean they have to have a phone number associated with them. So like they're real accounts, and it's almost always like a different person. And I think that these Discords do like affiliate marketing. So if somebody joins from your link, then you get paid for it. And I think that's why they do it. It's so annoying though. Like Discord needs to do more about this. Like people promoting a subreddit like that should be instant grounds for removal. And there's this one room in particular that is apparently grown quite large. So kind of a more general trading server. I remember I was on TikTok and somebody was talking about interacting with people on Discord, and they were like, "Oh, which Discord?" And she was like, "Oh, it's this trades Discord." And I'm like, "Oh, not that one. They're like the worst one. They probably spam me more than anybody else." So there's no way to win. There's no way to win on that one. Do have the Bay of Fundy on my bucket list. Well, the Treasury had a pretty good move up there, but look, they're back to 05 half. So this is kind of this same issue that was talking about earlier. It was like, okay, kind of felt like I wanted to get something at 05 half again, but I didn't see an inefficiency. I didn't take it. Moved up 4 ticks. And then, I talked about how FOMO and miss out I felt about it. But I didn't do anything, and now it's come back. And I have no clue why. Trade Trader, I have a folder on my desktop of all their bots, over 30 screenshots within a month period, and Discord didn't do crap right. Their safety team is absolutely useless. And I really mean like absolutely useless. Unless it's like people are being abducted or something, they don't do squat. At some point in the future, so they haven't been acquired by anybody yet. Like they've been in talks with people and then nothing happens. I suspect that at some point they will get bought. But I'm going to bet you money that at some point in the future, Discord will have a trust and safety scandal. A situation where something happened and it was reported to Discord, and Discord didn't act with enough haste. It's going to happen because you're already seeing it on Twitch, right? Like Twitch has a lot of issues with policing their content because they've been very inconsistent about it. And so they've allowed a group of creators on there that have basically gotten to where they are on the platform by skirting the rules. And then, you know, you kind of get these things where they skirt the rules too far, or some of them end up being like total douchebags. Like some of these guys who are like actively grooming underage girls and stuff like that, right? And you're going to get something like that from Discord, and Discord trust and safety is going to get blamed. Because just my own experience with it, when we were getting harassed by another channel, they didn't do a thing about it. I think that YouTube eventually did give them strikes and stuff, but Discord did not do anything. And that, by the way, is from a server that had been banned before too. So that was ban evasion, and they were harassing people. I went to Banff when I was a kid, and we wanted to go. Oh, I don't want to go to Banff. You know what I want to go to though is what's the park in California, and they have this big dome rock. What is it? Okay. National Parks, California. Is it US? No. Oh yeah, it's Yosemite. Yep, this thing. That classic hotel in Banff, I want to say, oh yeah. I know what you're talking about. Okay, this thing right here. There's apparently like a trail that goes up this on the one side. You see? I had dreams about this place before I knew it existed. I don't know how difficult of a hike that is and everything, but I kind of want to go there. Oh wow, is it that many people? That many people visit it, huh? You can do the face. Oh, I don't want to climb. That is a long... 16 miles. That's an all-day hike, isn't it? You definitely have to work up to that, because I think that the longest hike I've ever done was 15 miles. And that was like a multi-day trip. Like, I think King's Peak was 15. Most hikers take 10 to 12 hours. I eat 15 miles for breakfast. King's is about 14. Yeah. So when it was King's Peak, it was the summer, but I was still in fairly okay condition from doing wrestling and everything. And we worked up to it. So I was able to make it up to the top, but oh man, by the time you get up to the top, like the group tends to get scattered anyways. So like everybody was scattered. I actually kind of think back on it and I'm like, man, that must have been a nightmare as leaders. They should have been more concerned about keeping everybody together than they were, right? But I think 2/3 of the group did not make it up to the top. Like some of them like had elevation, and then a couple of them drank some water that ended up being really gross, I guess. "15 miles with a mile of elevation gain. Nope. Yeah, that's a rough hike. I don't think even what's the big hike down south? Angel's Landing. Angel's Landing, that's like not as, let's see here. We're so off subject today, but the markets are just awful. Oh, that's 4 miles? That's actually not that bad. Is that really only 4 miles? I thought it was way longer than that. Angel's Landing Hike Guide. One of the most renowned hikes. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, wait, where'd it go? Trailhead. 5 miles round trip. Whoa, but it takes 4 to 5 hours? What? That must be a really rough hike, though. If it takes you 4 hours and it's only a 5-mile trail. Yeah. My issue is I wouldn't mind hiking it, but that's not something that you just go over one day and hike. You know? Like, you would destroy yourself. You got to work up to it. So then it's like, oh, you got to go hiking, maybe once or twice a week for a couple of weeks, and then you'd be ready to do it, right? And it would also have to be during a time of year where it's not so hot, because, man, hiking that in 110, no thank you. No thank you. He says like, oh, like what? Well, it's very different. What I do, squats, is very different from a hike because it's much more long term. So I would need to actually go and do real hiking regularly. Okay, the ugly dude asks like a real serious question that we're going to have to answer. I don't know if I have enough time to go into this, ugly dude. Do you think that news trading has so much more of an edge over order book trading, given that insider trading trumps news trading, but both can be seen in the order book? Okay, so there's a couple of things to unpack there. First of all, news has a significant impact on the market, and if you are good at interpreting news, then you can make good trades with news, right? And remember, the downside for news trading is that you don't always have trades, and sometimes it's unclear when you really do have a trade. That takes a lot of experience, right? So like today, we didn't really have any trades, right? This is a terrible market. This is just the slowest I've literally ever seen the E-mini. Actually, this is maybe not. I think that there was a time when I was trading primarily treasuries where there was a day like this that's like, oh, the treasuries are moving. This is great. But I bet you the E-mini traders are just having an awful day, right? Now, order book trading. So there's some issues with order book trading. So I think that a lot of what we are told about order book trading, this is just my personal opinion. I can't prove this, okay? There were a lot of traders that made a significant amount of money from order book trading in the 90s. Okay. And I think that a lot of what we get as retail traders now, information about those came from that time period. And that time period was before the robots completely took over the market. So I think that a lot of the order book traders were doing things that aren't really, you can't really duplicate anymore. Okay. So, especially like the exact setups that I see people like that are popularly shared. I've tried trading those and I was not able to be successful with just those. Okay. That was just my experience. Okay. But I can't, I've been unable to find a way to empirically prove that those kinds of trades work. Can we put it that way? It's very difficult. So like most technical analysis trades, I can straight up tell you it doesn't work because I can improve it empirically. With most order flow trades, I would really like to prove it empirically, but there's a lot of issues with doing that. So I can kind of do it with certain cumulative delta, but you have to realize that we're using tick replay, and so there's still some issues with that it may not perform the way that you expect it to on the live market. But then when you're adding in level 2 and stuff, I just don't have the data for that. If I worked at Renaissance Technologies, probably we could prove them, right? So that's why I have to say just my anecdotal experience has been that I tried trading with pure order flow and I wasn't successful enough with it. I had some periods where I did really, really well, and then I had some periods where I didn't do very, very well. And generally speaking, the periods where I did really well, I realized that it was because I understood something about the news and the macroeconomic framework, and that helped me make the picks more than it was the order flow, right? But the thing is that then you combine them, right? If you understand the order flow and then you have like a real news trade, or you have some sort of other inefficiency that you're looking for, then they can be really, really effective together, right? So I think that the order book is definitely something that you want to incorporate into your trading. I just kind of question its use as entry signals. Okay. You could enter on a 50% chance still benefit. Well, I think that that's true. So like the big thing that I really like about news is you can get those potential moves where it's very difficult for the market to price it. And you can see that spot where the order book is stretched too far and you start to see all of the absorption in a spot. And then they tend to, hover there for a while, and then if there's still a reason for them to go up, then they'll just take another leg, right? And those end up being like really easy trades. And those end up being trades where I often am able to buy at the bottom and sell at the top because it just tells you exactly what it's going to do, right? But I wouldn't, to do all that consistently, I think I have to have the news and the macros and the correlations and everything else all together. It's not just reading the one instrument. And I think that in my mind, that's what it really gets down to. So my theory and the thing that I would like to prove is that a single series price data in particular is not very effective, and that there's fundamental reasons why that will never be very effective. And those fundamental reasons, I think, also apply to order flow. So I think that if you are just purely reading the order flow and you don't have a speed advantage, just purely reading the order flow on one instrument, that you will have a very hard time being profitable. That's my opinion. And there's some fundamental reasons why that is. That you really need a much more nuanced view of the market that includes multiple instruments and the whole macroeconomic framework and the context and the news and everything else in order to develop a system that can really be effective. Another thing that I wanted to point out, though, was like the insider trading. So what that comes down to is like, what do you need in order to see that there is informed trading going on? And that's very difficult to quantify for retail traders, you know. Like cumulative delta is probably the best proxy that we have for that. And the stats that I have off of cumulative delta from that are a little iffy. Like you can do it, but it's difficult. So I don't think that order flow or technical data gives you as much insight into what insider traders might be thinking as most of their proponents claim. Okay, I've got to get going. We're going to discuss our fishing trip. The slowest ES day ever. Okay, so if you guys want to watch this video, it will process and then it will show up in the live streams playlist, but it will not be listed. So if you've been coming back and watching the videos later, you gotta do that. But anyways, I will see you guys tomorrow, and in the meantime, stay profitable, friends.